I endured 11 miserable years trapped in my mom's toxic new family. Now they turned their backs on her. She begged me for help, but my calm reaction shifted everything and left her pale in silence forever.
I'm 28 male and Harper, who is 3 years younger than me. From the time we were little kids, it was obvious who the favorite was, and it was not even close. Harper got everything: new clothes, toys, mom's complete attention. Me, hand-me-downs, and we will see about that responses to everything. Mom would spend hours doing Harper's hair for school pictures, while I got just comb it down Jackson. Harper got elaborate lunches with notes and hearts. I got peanut butter sandwiches if I was lucky. Birthday parties for Harper were huge celebrations. Mine were forgotten half the time. School events were the worst. Harper played soccer and did dance. Mom was front row at everything, taking pictures. I played soccer for 3 years, and she showed up maybe twice, sitting in the car on her phone the whole time. Everything I accomplished. Got 2 seconds of acknowledgement before the conversation went back to whatever Harper was doing. My dad, Robert, tried to balance things out when he was around, but he worked construction and had health problems getting worse. High blood pressure, stress, the usual stuff that kills working guys early. When he was home, he would actually pay attention to me and help with homework, but Mom barely looked at me unless I was in trouble. The excuses were always the same. Harper needs more help because she is younger, or Jackson is more independent. Yeah, I was independent because you forced me to be. 6-year-old me making breakfast was not advanced life skills, it was neglect. But here is where everything really went to hell. When I turned 12, Dad had a massive heart attack at work, just dropped dead on a construction site. One day he is making bad jokes at dinner, the next day he is gone forever. That was the end of any stability our house had. Mom completely fell apart. She could not handle being a single parent to 2 kids, especially when one of them looked exactly like the husband she just lost. Every time she looked at me, she saw Dad. Harper looked like Mom's side of the family, so she was safe. Me? I was just a daily reminder of what she had lost. That is when Mom came up with her brilliant solution. She would take Harper and move to Canada where her sister lived, and I would go stay with Dad's sister, Patricia. The way she explained it made it sound temporary, just until I get back on my feet. And Patricia loves having you around anyway. But even at 12 years old, I could tell this was permanent. She was keeping the kid she wanted and dumping the one she did not. Aunt Patricia saw right through it immediately. She told Mom exactly what she thought about abandoning your own son. But Mom had already made up her mind. Harper was crying because she would miss me, but Mom was already mentally checked out, probably planning her fresh start with just her precious daughter. The day they left was brutal. Mom gave me this fake emotional goodbye with all the usual lies. I will call you every week. We will visit soon. This is just temporary. We both knew none of that was true. She wanted a clean slate with Harper, and I was baggage she could not wait to dump. I remember standing in the driveway with Aunt Patricia, watching their car disappear around the corner. 12 years old, and my own mother basically told me I was not worth taking with her. Harper was waving from the back window like we were going on some fun adventure, completely clueless that this was goodbye forever. Mom's logic was simple. Take the easy kid who reminded her of good times, leave the difficult one who looked like her dead husband. Classic Mom move right there. She could not deal with her own grief, so she just eliminated half the problem by abandoning one of her children. Aunt Patricia held me while I tried not to cry like a little kid. She was furious at Mom, but trying to stay calm for my sake. That woman has lost her damn mind, she kept muttering. Patricia had no kids of her own, and suddenly she was stuck raising her dead brother's abandoned son because his wife could not handle reality. The house felt completely different after they left. All of Harper's stuff was gone. Mom's bedroom was empty. Just me and Patricia figuring out how to make this work. She tried to keep things normal, but how do you explain to a 12-year-old that his mom chose his sister over him? Honestly though, getting dumped with Patricia turned out to be the best thing that ever happened to me, even if it did not feel like it at the time. Patricia was about 35 when she took me in. She worked as a nurse at the local hospital and had never been married or had kids of her own. She always said she was too busy with her career to settle down, but I think she just never found someone worth the hassle. She was tough as nails, but had this soft spot for family that Mom never appreciated. The first few weeks were weird as hell. I kept waiting for Mom to call and say she changed her mind, that she was coming back to get me. Patricia would catch me staring at the phone or checking the mailbox for letters that never came. She never said anything directly, but I could tell she was pissed at Mom for what she had done. The biggest change was how Patricia actually paid attention to what I was doing. She would ask real questions about school, got me a tutor when I was behind in math, cooked actual meals instead of throwing whatever was easiest at me. She came to my soccer games and watched, instead of sitting in the car on her phone. Basic parenting stuff that Mom never bothered with. But here is where things got really messed up with the phone calls from Canada. At first, Mom would call every couple of weeks, and these conversations were painful as hell. She would start with this fake cheerful voice asking how I was doing, but you could tell she was just going through the motions, like she had some kind of weekly reminder on her calendar to check on her abandoned son. The worst part was listening to her go on and on about Harper's amazing new life. Harper made the soccer team at her new school. Harper got invited to 3 birthday parties this month. Harper's teacher says she is the smartest kid in her class. Every call was basically a highlight reel of my sister's Canadian adventure while I am sitting there like some kind of consolation prize. Harper would get on the phone sometimes, and these conversations were awkward as hell. What do you say to a sister you barely know anymore? She would tell me about her new friends like I was supposed to be excited for her. We went to this awesome mall yesterday, and there is this restaurant that serves the best poutine. Cool, Harper. Glad you are living it up while Mom dumped me with a relative. Patricia would answer the phone sometimes when Mom called, and those conversations were ice cold. He is fine. He is doing well in school. Yes, he is eating enough. Patricia never said anything directly mean, but you could tell she had zero respect for Mom after what she had pulled. I would hear her muttering under her breath after hanging up, "That woman has some nerve checking in like she actually cares." The calls started getting further apart as months went by. Every couple of weeks turned into once a month, then every few months. You could tell Mom was getting more comfortable with her new life, and I was becoming less of a priority. Harper would mention new friends, new activities, how much she loved her new school. Meanwhile, I am basically an afterthought in my own family. The most insulting part was when Mom would ask Patricia how I was doing instead of asking me directly like I was some kind of pet she dropped off for boarding. Is Jackson eating well? Is he keeping his grades up? Questions she could have asked me if she actually wanted to maintain a relationship. Then Mom stopped calling completely. No explanation, no goodbye, just silence. Patricia and I figured out later that she had changed phone numbers and did not bother giving us the new one. That is when I knew for sure that I was officially written out of their story. Patricia never said, "I told you so." But we both knew this was always going to happen. Mom had gotten her fresh start with her favorite child and did not need the complication of her abandoned son anymore. The calls had just been guilt management. And once the guilt faded, so did any pretense of caring about me. Looking back, those phone calls were almost worse than being abandoned in the first place. At least when she left, it was honest. The fake check-ins were just cruel reminders that I was not worth real effort, just occasional lip service to make herself feel better about what she had done. College was the first time I really felt free. Patricia helped me get into a decent state school a couple of hours away, and once I got there, it felt like I could finally breathe. No one knew about my messed-up family. No pity looks, no awkward questions. I studied business and computer science, Patricia's idea, something useful. Worked part-time, took out loans, and made friends who actually felt like family. By junior year, I was freelancing websites and realizing I might be able to turn this into a real career. Meanwhile, I had not heard from Mom or Harper in years, maybe a sad Christmas card once, but that was it. After graduation, I moved back closer to Patricia, stayed in her spare room while job hunting. She never made me feel like a burden, just kept reminding me I would figure it out. Eventually, I landed a job at a tech company doing sales support and started climbing from there. Around that time, I met Sarah at a conference, total opposite of the chaos I came from. Smart, grounded, came from a family that actually liked each other. I told her the whole story eventually. She was shocked, but she got it, and for the first time I felt seen. We got married a couple of years later. That should have been the end of the story. Jackson overcomes shitty childhood, builds successful life with people who actually care about him, lives happily ever after. But that is when this whole nightmare started all over again, because apparently Mom decided I was worth talking to again. I'm sitting at home on a Saturday morning, having coffee with Sarah, when my phone rings. Unknown number. I almost did not answer because who calls anymore, right? But something made me pick up. Big mistake. It was Mom. After years of complete silence, this woman just calls out of the blue like we talk every week. "Jackson, it is Mom. Oh, honey, it is so good to hear your voice. How are you doing?" The fake enthusiasm in her voice was nauseating. Sarah saw my face during the call and knew immediately something was wrong. She sat there watching me get more and more tense as Mom did this weird dance around what she actually wanted. 20 minutes of surface-level questions about my business, my marriage, how things were going. All the stuff she should have cared about years ago but could not be bothered with when I was actually struggling. She had clearly been fishing for information about my success through Patricia, probably calling her up pretending to care about family news when really she was checking if I had money yet. Finally, Mom got to the real point. Turns out she had moved back here a few months ago, leaving her Canadian dream behind for reasons she did not really explain, probably could not afford it anymore. Harper was in college now and apparently struggling with tuition costs. Mom was working some retail job trying to make ends meet and wanted me to help out financially. The thing is, Jackson, Harper really needs help with her tuition costs. She is your sister after all. The number she threw out was insane, $15,000 a year for tuition. Harper had 2 years left, 30 grand total. This woman who has not spoken to me in years wanted me to drop $30,000 on a sister I barely know for college expenses that are not my responsibility. She started laying on the guilt thick immediately. Harper was family. I was doing so well, Dad would have wanted me to help my sister. All the classic manipulation tactics from someone who abandoned me the second things got difficult. Your father would have wanted you to help your sister, she said, playing the dead dad card, really bringing out the big guns for this guilt trip. I told her straight up that Harper was basically a stranger to me after years of zero contact. Mom tried to claim Harper asked about me all the time and would love to reconnect with her big brother. Complete bullshit. If Harper cared about reconnecting, she could have called me herself any time in the last decade. Mom, I have not talked to Harper in years. She is basically a stranger to me. Oh, honey, that is not true. She asks about you all the time. When I pointed out that Harper was not around when I was struggling through college, working multiple jobs just to pay rent, building my business from nothing, Mom got defensive, started making excuses about living in Canada and things being complicated, like geography prevented them from picking up a phone for 15 years. That is when her tone shifted from fake sweet to full manipulation mode. She did her best to raise 2 children after Dad died. Maybe she made some mistakes, but Harper should not suffer because of that. The classic narcissist move, making herself the victim while demanding I fix problems she created. The most insulting part was when she tried to take credit for my success. You turned out fine. Look how successful you are. Maybe things worked out for the best. This woman actually tried to spin abandoning me as some kind of master plan for my personal development. I shut that down real quick. I turned out fine because Patricia raised me, not because of anything Mom did. Sarah was watching this whole conversation unfold and getting pissed on my behalf. She knew the whole story about Mom abandoning me and could see exactly what was happening. Having her support made it easier to stay calm while Mom tried every guilt trip in the book. Mom brought up family loyalty, what Dad would have wanted, how Harper was innocent in all this, all the manipulation tactics you would expect from someone who only cares about you when they need something. She even had the nerve to blame me for not maintaining a relationship with Harper, like I was the one who moved to another country and stopped calling. When I told her I was not giving her $30,000 for someone I do not even know, she completely lost it, started screaming about how Harper was my sister and family helps family. Really rich, coming from the woman who chose one kid over the other and then disappeared for 15 years. I am not giving you money for Harper's college. I do not owe either of you anything. Jackson, please do not be like this. I know I hurt you, but we are still family. I made it crystal clear that Patricia is my family, Sarah is my family. Mom and Harper are strangers who share some DNA with me, and that is it. The conversation was getting nowhere, with her trying different angles and me shutting them all down. But wait, there is more. The money grab was not the only reason for the call. I am getting married in a few months to a wonderful man named David. We have decided to settle here actually, closer to family. I was hoping you would come to the wedding. The audacity was actually impressive. Hit me up for 30 grand and then invite me to celebrate her new life like we are close family. I am not coming to your wedding, Mom. She tried the whole it would mean so much to me routine, but I was not buying it. If having both her children at her wedding was so important, maybe she should have thought about that before, choosing one child over the other 15 years ago. Sarah immediately hugged me after I hung up and said what we were both thinking. That woman has some serious nerve. $30,000 in a wedding invitation after abandoning you. The level of entitlement was off the charts. The whole call confirmed everything I already knew about Mom. She is selfish, manipulative, and only cares about me when she needs something. The fact that she thought I would just hand over 30 grand to someone I have not talked to in years shows how completely out of touch she is with reality. She probably figured successful people are supposed to help their family and did not see any problem with her logic. Never mind that she wrote me out of the family when it was convenient for her. Now that there is money involved, suddenly I am family again and have obligations. Patricia called me later that day, asking if Mom had reached out. Turns out Mom had been pumping her for information about my business and financial situation for weeks. Before making the call, Patricia was furious that Mom was trying to use her as a source of intelligence for her money grab scheme. "That woman abandoned you and now she wants your money," Patricia said. "The nerve of some people never ceases to amaze me." Sarah and I talked about it that night, and she was still shaking her head at the whole situation. She comes from a normal family where people actually care about each other without ulterior motives. So Mom's behavior was shocking to her, but she was proud of me for standing my ground and not falling for the guilt trip. I thought that would be the end of it. Mom tried her shot, got shut down. Hopefully she would get the message and leave me alone, but I was wrong about that. This woman does not take no for an answer when there is money on the line. The phone call was just the opening move in what would become a full-scale campaign to guilt me into paying for Harper's college and attending her wedding. And it was about to get a lot worse because this woman does not understand the word no, especially when there is money involved. The calls started coming every few days after that, different times, different approaches, but always the same basic agenda: money for Harper's college and attendance at her wedding. Mom had apparently decided that my initial rejection was just me being stubborn and that enough persistence would wear me down eventually. Then Mom got creative. She started calling my business line during work hours, thinking maybe she could catch me off guard or embarrass me in front of clients. I had to explain to my assistant that if anyone claiming to be my mother called, she should take a message and not put the call through. Really professional, having to blacklist your own family from your workplace. The voicemails were something else. At first, they were these long guilt trips about family responsibility and how disappointed Dad would be if he could see me now. Then they escalated to straight-up demands. Mom telling me she expected the money for Harper's tuition by a certain date and that she had already told people I was coming to the wedding. The entitlement was unreal. This woman had convinced herself that I owed her these things and was getting genuinely angry that I was not complying, like I was some kind of rebellious employee instead of an adult man who did not want anything to do with her. Patricia got dragged more into it. Mom started calling her, trying to get her to convince me to help out. Patricia shut that down immediately and told Mom exactly what she thought about the whole situation. According to Patricia, Mom tried to claim that she had sacrificed so much for her children and deserved better treatment from me. That woman has completely lost touch with reality, Patricia told me. After one of these calls, she actually tried to tell me that leaving you with me was some kind of gift to you, like she was doing you a favor by abandoning her own child. The manipulation tactics kept evolving too. Mom would call crying about how Harper was struggling and might have to drop out of college without help. Then she would switch to anger about how selfish I was being, then back to guilt about family obligations and what Dad would want. Sarah was getting fed up with the whole thing and suggested we just change our phone number, but I was stubborn about it. This was my number, my life, and I was not going to let Mom force me to change anything. Plus, I wanted her to waste her time and energy on calls that went nowhere. But here is where it got really pathetic. Mom started trying to get other family members involved in pressuring me. Distant relatives I barely knew started calling to mediate between us. Cousins I had not talked to in years suddenly reaching out to tell me I should give Mom a chance. These people did not know the full story. Obviously, Mom had fed them some version where she was the grieving widow who did her best, and I was the ungrateful son holding grudges. They would call with this concerned tone, asking if maybe I could find it in my heart to forgive past mistakes and help my sister. I had to explain to each of them exactly what Mom had done, how she abandoned me after Dad died, took Harper to Canada, basically erased me from their lives for 15 years. Most of them were shocked, because Mom had obviously left out those details when recruiting them for her guilt campaign. My cousin Danny was one of the few who already knew the real story. He called not to pressure me, but to warn me that Mom was going around telling people I was being cruel to Harper, trying to make it sound like I was punishing an innocent girl for Mom's mistakes, instead of just refusing to pay for a stranger's education. She is telling people Harper does not understand why her brother will not help her, Danny told me, making it sound like Harper has been trying to reconnect with you for years, and you have been ignoring her. More lies from Mom to make herself look better. Harper had not made any effort to contact me because she did not care about having a relationship with me. This was purely about money, and Mom was trying to rewrite history to justify her demands. The most insulting part was when Mom started calling Sarah directly. She somehow got Sarah's work number and called her office, trying to convince her to talk sense into me. Sarah was furious about Mom bringing her workplace into this drama. "Your mother called me at work," Sarah told me that night. Started going on about family responsibility and how wives should support their husbands in doing the right thing. I hung up on her, but she is completely out of line dragging my job into this. That is when I knew Mom had crossed the line, going after my wife's career because she was not getting what she wanted from me. That is not family behavior, that is stalking behavior. Sarah did not sign up for this crazy when she married me and did not deserve to have her professional life disrupted by my toxic mother. I called Mom that night and told her if she ever contacted Sarah again, I would get a restraining order. That seemed to back her off from targeting Sarah directly, but the pressure campaign continued in other ways. When the calls stopped working, Mom switched to cards and handwritten letters. They were full of guilt trips about how she had made mistakes and wanted to make things right. Harper needed her big brother. The wedding would not be complete without both her kids, the usual. Each one was a masterclass in manipulation, full of vague apologies and zero real accountability. She made abandonment sound like a parenting hiccup. Sarah would find these letters in our mailbox and just throw them away without showing them to me. She could see how stressed the whole situation was making me and tried to shield me from as much of it as possible. Having a partner who actually cared about my well-being was such a contrast to Mom's selfish demands. The timeline pressure kept building too. Mom's wedding was approaching, and Harper's tuition deadlines were coming up. The calls got more frequent and more desperate. Mom started making threats about what would happen if I did not come through. She would tell people at the wedding that I was too busy with work to attend. She would have to explain to Harper why her brother did not care enough to help with college. She would never be able to forgive herself if Harper had to drop out because of my selfishness. All of this was supposed to make me feel guilty enough to cave in and give her what she wanted. But the more pressure she applied, the more convinced I became that I was making the right decision. This woman had shown her true colors, and they were ugly as hell. Patricia kept me grounded through all of this. She would remind me that I did not owe Mom anything, and that her demands were completely unreasonable. Patricia had managed to raise me without any help from Mom, and now Mom wanted to take credit for my success while demanding I fund her other kids' future. "You worked hard for everything you have," Patricia would tell me. "That woman contributed nothing to your success, and now she wants to cash in on it. Do not let her guilt you into rewarding her for abandoning you." The whole campaign was backfiring on Mom because instead of wearing me down, it was just reinforcing why I had cut contact with her in the first place. She was selfish, manipulative, and only cared about me when she needed something. The pressure tactics just proved that she had not changed at all. But Mom had one more card to play that would take this whole situation to an even crazier level. And when that did not work either, she would show me just how entitled and delusional she really was. After weeks of failed phone calls, guilt trips, and pressure campaigns, she decided to take things nuclear. If she could not manipulate me into compliance, she would try to force me through public humiliation. Mom showed up at my house unannounced on a Saturday morning. Sarah and I were having breakfast when the doorbell rang. I looked through the peephole, and there she was, standing on my front porch like she had every right to be there. First time I had seen her face in person in over 15 years. Sarah saw the look on my face and knew immediately who it was. "Do not answer it," she said. "She has no right to show up here uninvited." But I was curious about what Mom thought she was going to accomplish by ambushing me at home, so I opened the door but did not invite her in. Just stood there in the doorway, looking at this woman who had abandoned me and was now trying to guilt-trip me into funding her life. She looked older, obviously, tired, like life had not been as easy in Canada as she had hoped. But the entitlement in her eyes was the same. She started with this fake, emotional approach about how she had driven all the way to see me and just wanted to talk to her son. "Jackson, we need to discuss this situation like adults. Can I come in?" "No, you cannot come in. You can say whatever you came to say from right there." That is when she dropped the act and got straight to her demands. Harper's tuition deadline was next week, and Mom needed the money transferred immediately. The wedding was in 3 weeks, and she had already told people I was coming. I was embarrassing her by being difficult about simple family obligations. The audacity was breathtaking. This woman standing on my porch, acting like I was the problem for not immediately complying with her demands. Sarah came to the door behind me, and Mom's whole demeanor changed. She tried to appeal to Sarah as a fellow woman, talking about family loyalty and how wives should encourage their husbands to do the right thing. Sarah was not having any of it. "You abandoned your 12-year-old son and now you want his money," Sarah said. "There is nothing right about that. You need to leave our property." That is when Mom lost it completely. Started screaming about how ungrateful I was, how she had sacrificed everything for her children, how I was destroying Harper's future out of spite. The neighbors were starting to come outside to see what the commotion was about. She played every card she had left, said Dad would be ashamed of me, that I was betraying my family, that successful people have obligations to help their relatives. When none of that worked, she tried threats. Mom said she would tell everyone at the wedding exactly what kind of son I was. She would make sure Harper knew that her brother chose to let her drop out of college rather than help. She would contact my business clients and tell them about my character. That last threat was the final straw for me. Threatening my business because I would not fund her demands? This woman had officially lost her mind. "Get off my property right now or I am calling the police," I told her. "You would not dare call the police on your own mother. Try me." I pulled out my phone and started dialing. Mom did not back down like I expected. Instead, she doubled down on her threats, saying she was not leaving until I agreed to help Harper and come to the wedding, standing there on my porch like she owned the place. So I finished dialing 911. 911. "What is your emergency?" "I need police to remove someone from my property who is refusing to leave," I said, looking directly at Mom while I talked. Mom's face went white. She clearly did not think I would actually follow through. Started backing toward her car, saying she was leaving, but the operator was already taking my information and said they would send someone out. "Jackson, hang up the phone. I am going. You do not need to involve the police. Too late for that." I gave the operator my address and explained that my estranged mother had shown up demanding money and was now trespassing after being told to leave. The whole thing felt surreal, but also satisfying as hell. Mom scrambled to her car and drove off before the cops arrived, but they still came by to take a report. Professional guys who understood the situation immediately when I explained the background. They said showing up at someone's house demanding money could be considered harassment, especially with the threats she had made. One of the officers suggested filing for a restraining order if she contacted us again. Said they see this kind of family financial abuse more often than people think, and the law does not care if the person harassing you is related to you. Family or not, she does not have the right to show up at your house making demands and threats, the officer told me. Document everything in case you need to take legal action. After she left, Sarah and I just sat there for a while processing what had happened. This woman had driven to our house to demand money and threaten us when we refused. The level of entitlement was honestly impressive and how completely insane it was. "That woman is certifiably crazy," Sarah said, "who shows up at someone's house demanding $30,000. Just when I thought she could not get more ridiculous, I got a certified letter in the mail. It was from some bottom-barrel lawyer on her behalf, full of legal-sounding fluff accusing me of emotional abandonment and failure to provide family support. Yeah, apparently I am now responsible for Harper's college because I turned out successful. She actually tried to claim I owed her money because she raised me, which she did not, Patricia did, and because Harper's emotional well-being was suffering from my refusal to help. No actual case, no court filing, just one big guilt trip printed on legal letterhead. Luckily, my buddy is a real lawyer and tore it apart in 5 minutes flat. His words, "This is junk mail in a suit." We sent back a short reply basically saying, "Jackson owes nothing. Any more of this and we will pursue legal action for harassment." She has not filed anything. Obviously, it was all scare tactics, but the fact that she tried to strong-arm me with fake legal pressure after years of silence just confirmed everything I already knew. She does not want a son. She wants a checkbook. Sarah and Patricia both laughed when they read it. Patricia said, "She abandoned you, then tried to invoice you. That is a new level of entitled. If she thinks that is going to work, she is way more out of touch than I thought." We decided right then that if Mom contacted us again in any way, we were getting a restraining order. Her showing up at our house crossed the line from annoying family drama to actual harassment. But of course, Mom was not done. A few days later, 2 of my clients called asking about family issues they had heard about. Turns out Mom had somehow tracked down their contact info and called them, claiming I was heartlessly refusing to help my brilliant sister stay in college. She made me sound like some selfish monster who abandoned his family. Luckily, both clients are professionals and were not buying it. They were more confused than judgmental. I told them the truth. Mom left me at 12, vanished for 15 years, and now suddenly wants money. One of them said it best: she wants you to pay for someone you have not talked to in a decade. That is insane. That was the final straw for me and Sarah. She was done being harassed. I was done playing defense. We filed for a restraining order. Within a week, the order was approved. She is legally banned from contacting me, Sarah, or showing up at our home or work. If she tries anything else, she is getting hit with criminal charges. And honestly, that is the first time I felt actual peace since she came back into my life. The wedding came and went without me, obviously. Patricia told me later that Mom had called her the day before trying one last time to get me to attend. When Patricia told her I was not coming, Mom apparently broke down crying about how her special day was ruined. Good. Maybe having to explain to her new husband's family why her son did not attend her wedding gave her a taste of the consequences for her choices. Though knowing Mom, she probably just made up some story about me being difficult instead of admitting what she had done. About a week after the wedding, Harper called me, first time in 15 years. She was crying, saying she did not understand why I would not help with college or what she did wrong. It was clear Mom had fed her a twisted version of events. Harper thought we had had some sort of relationship this whole time, like I suddenly cut her off out of nowhere. I told her the truth. Harper was shocked. But Mom always talked about you, she said. She said she was proud of you. Yeah, more lies to keep up appearances. Harper, I'm sorry, but we are basically strangers. I cannot fund college for someone I do not know just because we share DNA. She hung up crying. I have not heard from her or Mom since. And honestly, that is something the two of them will have